Story time. Let me tell you the scariest thing happened to me. Years ago, I was in England at an ex-boyfriend's home in a large Victorian mansion in Brandon, Suffolk, gorgeous English countryside. It was his parents' home that had been in his family for about 3 generations, if I remember correctly. He was called into work and I was left in the home with his mother. She came upstairs to let me know that she was going to be running errands and she would be gone for the day, so I was home alone. About an hour passed and I got up to use the bathroom, which was inside the bedroom. Instinctively, I went in and locked the door out of habit, even though I was home alone. The door to the bedroom was closed and the door to the bathroom was closed and locked. I heard knocking on the bedroom door and I kept answering for somebody to come in and no one answered. I heard knocking again, called out again for them to come in and no answer. I assumed it was his mom who forgot something and returned to the house. A couple minutes later, I heard a woman's voice from the other side of the wall in the bathroom, calling my name, and I kept answering, really thinking it was his mom. I heard this woman calling me 3 or 4 more times, to which I answered, but I never got a response. About 45 minutes later, my ex came home and I told him how his mom was knocking on the door and she must not have heard me, but she was calling me and I was answering her, but she didn't hear me. I felt really bad because when I left the bathroom, she had left the house again. He was super confused because he told me his mom had been out all day and she wasn't back home, so I told him that she must have left. She told me she was leaving, but then less than an hour later I assumed she forgot something because she definitely came back and was knocking on the door and calling me because I could hear her from the bathroom. His mom got back home about 3 or 4 hours later and around the dinner table. I apologized for not getting to her before she left the house again, and she looked at me like I was absolutely insane. She had no idea what I was talking about, so I explained the story, and she very flippantly said, "Oh, that must have been the ghost of that girl," and everyone laughed. I laughed too, but this house was super creepy, and I kind of believed it because I definitely believe in paranormal stuff. My ex got really serious and looked at me and said, "I'll talk to you about it later." After dinner, we went back upstairs, and he said for me to show him where I could hear the woman calling me from, and I said, "Oh, just from the other side of the wall in the bathroom," and he said, "The wall in the bathroom?" I said, "Yeah, the wall in the bathroom." And he said, "Which wall?" So I went into the bathroom and pointed to the wall, and he said, "You realize that that wall is to the outside, right?" We were about 4 stories up. He said that I became white as a ghost because I didn't even realize that was the case. We were extremely high up, and on the other side of that wall was a courtyard with an in-ground pool far below us. He proceeded to tell me a story about a young woman back in the 1800s or so who lived in the house with her family and entered a relationship with an older man that the family did not approve of, and they forbade her to see him. She rebelled and continued to see him anyway. When the family found out that she was secretly seeing him, they locked her in the room, which happened to be my ex's bedroom. I'm not quite sure how long she was locked in the room for, but there used to be train tracks that ran behind that house that you could still see in that courtyard.